those are my 3 suggestions when you're dealing with rejection with your children. Hey, sweetie fam. Welcome back to my channel. I am Patra.pearson, Denise, produced by Denise Productions. Favorite plus size stylist is back with a little bit that's been on my heart as a mom. Before we get into it, go down to the subscribe button, click the bell so you can be notified. I drop a video every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. And on this channel, I create fashion, family, and lifestyle content because it's the place to be for all of that, and that's on period. I'm gonna finish doing my eyebrows while we do this because we have a birthday party to go to probably in about 30 minutes. A little less than that, but I ain't doing no much more than my eyebrows, like for real, nothing. Maybe a little concealer, but probably not. So I've had a child who was rejected, and I know this is a common topic that we deal with as humans. It has no color preference, no cultural meaning behind it. My child was rejected. Doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, you're gonna get rejected. Now, a lot of times rejection does come. You get additional rejection or an even bigger impact of rejection because of your race, your nationality, things like that. This is just really just basic. Y'all, I'm using the Dr. Lift to help just kind of fill in my eyebrows. I don't use brow tint. I don't know. I don't care to. I'd rather use this because it has the brush on it. I already brushed them out, my lashes out, and I just like to lightly kind of fill in what I, right. I have one of my children, I'm not gonna tell you which child, had to audition for a particular extracurricular activity. And you're like, well, it has to be your oldest child. It doesn't, because right, the way extracurricular activities are now, a lot of times, like if you're a dancer and you want to be on a competitive dance team, you start auditioning at 4. Yeah. You audition for the team at 4. Cheerleading. Yeah, they accept you up until maybe 5 or 6, especially if you've been on a team. And at that point, 5 and 6 years old, you're auditioning to be on the traveling cheer team. So you start competing and auditioning for your spot at a very young age when it comes to extracurricular activities. We're talking about outside of just your basic, education, whether you go to public, private school, things like that. So one of my children was rejected from a team. That child has participated in this extracurricular activity before, but it was their first time doing it was after COVID. So their first year of COVID, they couldn't do it because it was COVID, which was like 2021, well, not 2020, 2020 to 2021, COVID, no kids went to school. And then, now I'm using the L'Oreal Paris True Match Super Blendable Crayon Corrector. That's what this is, okay? And I swear by this, and I'm almost out, look, almost out. They couldn't do it that year because nobody was really doing much of anything that year. No extracurricular activities was really like happening, so it is what it is, right? But then 2021 and 2022, slowly but surely, extracurricular activities started to open back up, and they were able to do this. And that was the first year that my child was ever able to do it, and they did it. They actually did pretty well for them never to have any additional experience. My children are natural born leaders. They're going to speak up for themselves. They're going to tell you how they feel. They're going to tell you what they didn't like. And then we're going to be able to either correct that or, strengthen that if it's already a strong asset for us. This year, it's the time of season for that particular activity to start up. And this year they had to audition. Last year, they did not. And they were not chosen this year. I want to talk about what it's like as a parent to have your child rejected off something they really, really wanted to do. So pretty much, I'm going to tell you guys how to help your children with rejection. First things first, just having those open conversations about rejection and what rejection is, the definition, And you may have to break it down and continue to have those conversations because, like I said, auditioning starts to happen for extracurricular activities as young as 4, 5, 6 years old. That young of an age, accepting rejection is so much harder than 12 and 13. I really want to do this and so on and so forth. But if they're not, not, I guess you want to say, like, to the standard that the coaches or the judges wanted, they didn't make the team or they didn't get to participate, for an example, then talking about this early helps so much further down the line. So as the season is opening for this particular extracurricular activity, we talked about first and foremost what the aspect of rejection is, the definition, and how that affects us. It affects us positively and negatively. That's the first thing. So have that conversation about what rejection is. That's the first thing. Second of all, as I said, is how that affects us positively and negatively. And we talked about that. We had an open dialogue, a full open dialogue. We have a family meeting every week, every Wednesday at 6:15 after dinner or during dinner. And we talk about, like, as much as we can, especially since I do content. I kind of always know what's going on in social media. We're having a lot of conversations that a lot of parents are not having in their homes. We're like, what did you like about this week? What don't you like about this week? And so the topic of rejection came up because my child was like, I really want to, I'm so super excited for the season to start for this particular extracurricular activity. And it came up that it was going to be a new instructor for this particular, thing that my child wanted to do, this particular activity. And I was like, well, are the requirements going to be the same? I know, like, most extracurricular activities, regardless of sports, drama, dance, whatever, you got to have a decent grade. I know that's like basic across the board. I said, is there going to be tryouts this year, and so on and so forth? And so my child was like, well, I don't know. Because remember, last year was my first year doing it. So I was like, okay. I said, so let's talk about that. And so my child was like, perfect. Yeah, let's do that. So I was like, well, what does it look like for you if you have to try out and you may not make the team? Especially since it's not going to be the same instructor over the extracurricular activity. And at that point, I'm like, since it's not going to be the same instructor from last year, you don't know what this particular instructor is going to require. You don't know if this instructor has been doing it for so long or what their past experience is with it. So they may, come with their own 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people that's been doing this extracurricular activity for many, many years. It happens all the time. Deion Sanders left Jackson State and went to Colorado and took his son with him to be their quarterback. So, like, it happens often. I'm using that as an example. And none of my kids play football, so I'm just using that as an example. I want to bring up all those scenarios, or as many scenarios I can bring up, so my child will understand that you have to be prepared for every scenario. Not just, I'm going to go when the season opens for this particular extracurricular activity, I'm going to do my thing, and I'm going to make it. No, it's a possibility that there may be tryouts this year. And lo and behold, it was tryouts. So tryouts came the first day or the first few days. It was about 30 or 40 people who wanted to do this extracurricular activity, which was a lot of people. The instructor made it very clear that they're going to have to cut people, meaning a tryout. Cuts mean tryout. Y'all see Diana? I'm going to put the baddest apples on the floor. Y'all seen it. Y'all understand what I'm saying. After we talked about that, it was time for extracurricular activity to begin. My child went to the first meeting and things like that. Everything I said was correct. So my child came home and was like, what you said was right. They doing it different. Everybody has to try out. It was so many people compared to last year. And so then I broke that down. I said, remember, I told you last year, a lot of people wasn't comfortable with, they weren't comfortable with their children doing extracurricular activities with the aspect of coronavirus and the aspect of having to participate wearing masks. It just wasn't a thing, right? Y'all didn't really learn how to do these eyebrows, okay? I'm just really proud of myself, for real, for real. So, my child was like, you're right. A lot of the other kids who've been doing this for a while said the same thing. Like last year wasn't that many people, and compared to was this year. So I said, so what happens from this point? It's like one activity, but they have two separate levels of activity, kind of like a senior and a junior type vibe. So I said, okay, perfect, cool. If you don't make the highest one, you gotta possibly make the one under. I mean, you still got time, because you still got some time to grow. My child was like, perfect. So the next day, my child told me that, they didn't make the senior or the higher level one, but they still have an opportunity to make the lower level one. I said, okay, perfect, cool. Y'all, I did decide to put a little concealer on it. I've been tripping. My child went to the next day of like the auditions for the activity. The next day, my child goes to the activity and says, I gave him my all. And I said, as you should, my love, as you should. Says, well, tomorrow they'll let us know if we made it or not. I said, okay, perfect. My child then comes later on the next day and tells me that my child did not make it. So I'd already covered what rejection was. I had already covered how it can impact us positively and negatively. For an example, it can make us really, really upset. It can make us dislike the people that did get chosen. It could do a lot of different things to us. Bring out emotions in us we never thought we even had. And then I talked about the positives. The positives of it is it makes room for us to find other things we can do that we're good at. It also allows us to focus. If this is something we really want to do, we feel like this is our passion, it's our purpose. Now it means that we need to figure out what we're not doing, what areas we need help in, so then we can be the best. So when the next season comes around where I want to be chosen for this extracurricular activity, I can do that. And lastly, and totally not least, is to console that child. That was a really big deal. Like, I want to make sure that my child knew that I was there for them, that they are the greatest, okay? And also that when things like this happen, God makes room for us in other areas. That means that this wasn't meant for you. And if you understand that now, this is the half point to that. If you understand that now, it will help you so much in the long run. That if you don't make it, if you have worked hard and you do everything you're supposed to do and you don't get chosen, it's mean it's not for you. And it was out of your control, right? You went and did your part. Your part was to go and try out and give the best, performance or show that you could give for this particular extracurricular activity. You did that. At that point, it's out of your control. Those are my 3 suggestions when you're dealing with rejection with your children. And as a parent, if y'all can, sit down, take a breath, because it does not feel good to hear that your child was rejected. Period. Point blank. Comment down below of any other things or any other ways that you guys help your children or have helped your children to get through rejection, because I'm down for it. Because I got 3 kids. Because as we know, when you have multiple kids, what works for one may not work for the other. Y'all, I'm favorite patron Denise. And y'all be sweet. Smooches.